You weren't a well-known person, and I'd say you weren't really interested in becoming one either. You were more of a quiet person. And this was one of the things you thought about when you chose to ask me to marry you. Megyn Kelly, who used to work as a reporter for NBC, has all the qualities of a star. The American TV screen shines with her beauty, and she has one of the best sounds in the business. But it's pretty shocking that this pretty woman is dealing with a troubling problem inside. A problem inside herself that was so bad that she had to leave her husband of 30 years. What is the beautiful writer thinking about that makes her angry? Was her husband the devil, or what else could have caused their marriage to end? Come with us as we try to figure out what's going on with Megyn Kelly's marriage. What's wrong with Megyn Kelly? There were some problems with Megyn Kelly's job and fame. She started it all when she moved from Fox News to NBC in 2017. At Fox, she became a well-known and recognized journalist. Kelly became well known for her tough interviews and ability to moderate debates. However, her move to a softer, more comedic role on NBC's morning show Today was a dangerous move in her career. Going in a new direction, away from the political analysis and journalistic reporting that she was good at, was scary. It was hard to make the move from the beginning. The people who watched her on Fox News weren't the same people who watched her now. It was also hard for Kelly to connect with the wider, less serious morning show audience. The lighter tone of daytime TV didn't go well with her straight, no-nonsense style. Also, she was often criticized for not being as friendly or sympathetic as other morning show hosts. Things got worse one day during a live show on Megyn Kelly Today when Kelly said some hurtful things about blackface while talking about Halloween outfits. She also made her face look darker than it is. Some people thought that was racist. She asked why people thought blackface was rude. Whenever people used it around Halloween, they told her it was okay when she was a kid. Some people immediately criticized her words, saying they were racist and out of touch. Even though they said sorry in public, the damage was already done. First, I'd like to say I'm sorry the trouble got worse quickly and her show was canceled soon after, ending her time at NBC on a bad note and making her look bad. Not only did Kelly's work change a lot during this time, but so did her marriage. The media frenzy over her move to NBC and the backlash from her comments about blackface threw her work life into chaos. Kelly, who had made a name for herself by being tough and calm, she found herself in a new situation all of a sudden, facing public criticism and job insecurity. But more importantly, her problems spread to her husband and destroyed the base. Things that are upsetting will be talked about later. For now, let's go back to the start of the marriage. You won't be able to say anything after hearing this. The rocky love story of Megyn and Douglas Megyn Kelly and her husband Douglas Brunt were one of the most powerful couples in the world. No one on earth could have imagined that anything could go wrong. A well-known writer had made a name for herself in the TV news business, first with Fox News and then with NBC. Although Brunt is now a well-known author, he made a name for himself in the business world before he started writing. Even though they came from different places, their personalities seemed to complement each other at first. How did they meet? They met for the first time at a book party in Washington, D.C. in 2006. Kelly had just switched from being a lawyer to a reporter, and her job at Fox News was taking off. Their story began with a memorable how we met moment, a blind date that felt like it was meant to be from the start. You'll be amazed at how it happened. Douglas Brunt went on a blind date with Megyn Kelly to a busy bar in Washington, D.C. He felt good about going because he had seen her on Fox News and knew how she looked. Kelly, on the other hand, stayed home and had two friends check him out. Her friends kept her up to date. At first, they thought another cute guy was Brunt, but they finally found the real Brunt and gave him the thumbs up. Kelly chose to meet him in the end. Kelly liked Brunt because he was honest, which was different from the guys she usually dated. Brunt, the CEO of a tech company, was also impressed by Kelly's joy and confidence. Kelly lived in Washington and Brunt lived between Florida and New York, but they became closer even though they lived in different places. Even though Brunt didn't like dating a popular person, things were almost over when Brunt let go of Kelly's dog's leash by chance and almost caused an accident. They got into a fight, but it was really about how unclear their future was. The next morning, after a rough night, Brunt made Kelly feel better, which brought them closer. Soon after that, Kelly was sent to New York, and their bond got stronger. They bought a fake ring because Brunt couldn't wait to ask her to marry him. He did it at the beach in New Jersey. She was shocked, but she said yes. At Oheka Castle in New York, they got married in front of their happy family and friends. Everything looked good for a while. With the birth of their 3 children, Kelly's career took off, and she became one of the most famous news reporters in the country. This is where the story starts to go bad, though. At first glance, it looked like they were able to handle their busy lives well. Brunt quit his job in business to follow his dream of writing, and Kelly had become a major figure in the media world. But there were cracks starting to show through the success. Kelly's work was taking off, but it was putting stress on her marriage. One could say that the turning point happened during the 2016 presidential race. Kelly got a lot of attention after her public fight with Donald Trump, who was running for president at the time, after a heated argument in which she asked him about how he treats women. She was one of the moderators at the Republican primary debate and asked Donald Trump a tough question about the bad things he had said about women in the past. She showed him examples of times he had called them fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. She asked him if his actions were right for someone who was running for president. Trump's answer was quick and sharp. He talked badly about Kelly in public, first during the debate and then on Twitter and in interviews. Many people thought it was cruel of him to say that she had blood coming out of her eyes and everywhere else on her. This caused a big stir, with people either supporting Kelly for being brave or Trump's defense, seeing her question as an unfair attack. As more people learned about the fight, Kelly became a major player in politics and the news. Some people praised her for standing up to Trump, but others, especially Trump fans, were very mean to her. She got threats, and the media paid more attention to her, which put a lot of stress on her domestic life. At first, Kelly's husband Douglas Brunt was there for her at home. But the constant threats and attention from the media soon got too much. Brunt quit his job in the business world to focus on writing and their family. They weren't ready for how much attention their family got because Kelly had a fight with Trump. He was looking forward to a calmer life, but the trouble drew him in. The fight and Kelly's busy job were putting a lot of stress on their marriage. The media fight and Kelly's work took more of her time, so she couldn't spend as much time with her family. Brunt was under a lot of stress, and it was hard for him to deal with how the public was following their lives. The stress wouldn't go away. With Kelly's job going even faster, the space between them grew. The Trump fight wasn't the only reason they ended up getting a divorce, but it was a big part of it. The constant attention from the media, threats, and emotional stress were too much for them to take. These problems caused what used to be a strong marriage to start to fall apart, which led to them splitting up. Even though Kelly was handling the storm very well at work, the worry was making her personal life worse. Being in the public eye all the time and dealing with the hostile atmosphere created by Trump's followers were too much to handle. Kelly was often very busy at work, which didn't leave much time for her husband. Brunt, who had been her biggest fan, was said to have felt left out. If he changed his job to writing, he would spend more time at home, but Kelly would have more duties. As the mismatch grew, fights happened more often. Sources close to the couple say that Brunt thought Kelly's job had taken over her life and that her public fights didn't leave much time for the closeness they used to have. Kelly, on the other hand, was under a lot of stress at work and at home, trying to keep her family safe and deal with her growing fame. The point of no return. At home, the stress was getting worse. Douglas Brunt had always been a good partner. He put his own work on hold to care for their family while Kelly's star kept rising. Their relationship suffered, though, because of all the attention from the public and Kelly's ongoing work problems. After being a calm presence during many of Kelly's earlier job problems, Brunt started to feel like he was living in the shadow of her more and more chaotic work life. According to people close to the pair, Kelly's emotional withdrawal during this time was a big reason why they were growing apart. In her personal life, the stress she felt at work made it hard for her to turn off and be fully present at home. Brunt, who used to be able to relate to Kelly and help her through tough times, started to feel alone. Because of Kelly's public problems and her need to save her job, she didn't have much time for their relationship, and the emotional connection they used to have started to fade. Some work was done to fix the damage. There were rumors that Kelly and Brunt went to therapy and tried to spend more time with their family, but these actions were not enough to stop the stress from rising. Kelly's job had taken over her life. And while she was working hard to get back on track professionally, her marriage was falling apart. Brunt had been there for Kelly for a long time, but he started to think that her job and the stress it caused were too much for their marriage to handle. Even though they tried to fix their relationship, the mental gap between them grew. Kelly's problems at work and her failure to separate work and home life finally got to her. Brunt made the hard choice to leave his marriage because he felt more and more like an outsider. Living in the shade of Kelly's public life and not being able to talk to her emotionally was too much to handle. And in the end, the stress was too much for their marriage to handle. Things get worse here, though. Many people thought that Megyn Kelly and Douglas Brunt would work out their problems, but one big event seemed to end their relationship for good. Kelly chose to talk about her experience with sexual harassment at Fox News in public, blaming Roger Ailes, the network's former CEO. Not only was it brave of her to speak out, but it also brought unwanted attention to their private lives. Brunt, who had always backed, found the renewed attention from the media too much. He couldn't handle being watched all the time by the people. Kelly's statements put their family back in the news, and the media couldn't stop talking about them. Brunt had left business to focus on writing and his family, so he had a hard time with all of this attention. The worry of being in the public eye all the time made their relationship even worse. While this was going on, Brunt quickly decided he could no longer handle the stress. He and Kelly finally broke up, and Brunt asked for a divorce. Douglas Brunt and Megyn Kelly's divorce process, which was mostly kept secret from the public, was probably shaped by the difficulties that come with splitting up famous people. When Brunt filed for divorce, it was the official end of a marriage that had been falling apart because of her job, public attention, and differences with her husband. Even though their breakup got a lot of attention from the media, Kelly and Brunt chose to keep their divorce quiet to escape the public drama that often happens when celebrities break up. They would have been sharing their money and things. Kelly made a lot of money from her big deals with Fox News and NBC, because she was a well-known news reporter. One of her deals was with NBC, which paid her about $69 million over 3 years. Brunt was also wealthy. He was a successful author and former business leader. When they got divorced, they probably had to think carefully about how to split up the things they owned together. Since they were both successful and had been married for 13 years, it made sense. Jeff Bezos and Mackenzie Scott's divorce and others like it show how hard it can be to split up assets when both people are rich. In the case of Bezos, they had to deal with his big share of Amazon and other money. Kelly and Brunt probably had to figure out how to divide things like assets and homes, and use the same bank accounts. When two people have been married for a long time, things they bought together become their shared property. To make sure that everything is split evenly, this is often best done with the help of lawyers and financial experts. In addition to talking about money, they had to work out custody and co-parenting plans during their split. Becky and Brunt have 3 kids together. During the breakup, their health and happiness would have been the most important thing. Kelly's ongoing media work and Brunt's writing career mean that both parents are very busy. It would have been important to come up with a parenting plan that would have allowed both parents to stay involved in their children's lives. However, neither Kelly nor Brunt have talked about the divorce process in detail in public. It looks like they split up in the nicest way possible given the situation. Both men were focused on going forward in their personal and professional lives without getting into fights or smearing each other in public. They may have chosen to keep their split quiet because they want to keep their kids out of the drama and avoid more media attention. But Kelly's job kept them in the public eye all the time. The thing that used to make them happy together was now the thing that made them break up. While Megyn Kelly and Douglas Brunt were no longer together, they have mostly kept their personal lives out of the public eye. Kelly has turned her attention to her podcast, The Megyn Kelly Show, since she left NBC and stopped appearing on regular TV shows. She often talks openly on the show about how hard it was for her to balance her busy, high-stress job with her duties at home. She has admitted that her busy work routine, especially when she was a news anchor, made it hard for her to spend time with her family. Kelly has also said that the constant attention from the public and the media made her personal life even more stressful. It's getting harder to keep a good mix between work and home life. Douglas Brunt, on the other hand, has been writing more and staying out of the public eye since the split. As a writer, he seems to have purposely kept away from the intense public attention that was on Kelly during her successful TV career. Many people who thought they were the perfect couple were shocked when they split up. But it shows how hard it can be to balance a tough job with family obligations. Kelly lost her marriage as she rose to the top of her field. In the process of her success, she lost touch with Brunt and their close friendship. Brunt chose to leave in order to find peace and his own personality. He decided to put his own health first after years of supporting Kelly through her public scandals. Their breakup shows how hard it was for both of them to balance work and home. It became clear to Kelly that her job had a bigger effect on her marriage than she thought. Going out into the light and focused on himself was what leaving meant for Brunt. But this isn't the first time we've seen something like what's going on between these two stars. We'll now look at some that are even stranger. Hollywood's strange marriage problem. High-profile couples often have to deal with a lot of stress in their personal lives because of their busy jobs and the attention they get from the public. Like in a number of well-known cases, this stress can cause relationships to end. Take the case of Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. Being together since 2005, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, who are often called Brangelina, have become one of Hollywood's most famous pairs. The public was enthralled by their relationship, which was helped by the fact that they were both famous and their family was growing. They ended up with 6 children through adoption and birth. They had busy acting jobs, but they seemed to be able to balance work and personal life for a few years. But the intense media attention on their every move started to wear them down. The paparazzi followed them around like crazy, and the attention from the public on their private life made things even more difficult for their already troubled family. Both actors had busy jobs that took them to different continents and kept them apart for long periods of time, making it harder for them to keep their bond strong. By 2016, they were both exhausted from managing a famous family, a lot of media attention, and their own jobs. This caused them to split up. The split that followed, which at first seemed friendly, quickly turned into a very public and heated court case, mostly about who would have control of their children. There were claims of disagreements about parenting styles and money matters that made the news, which made people look even more closely. What was supposed to be a private matter turned into a public show. This shows how fame makes tensions worse and lets the public see even the most private battles. Their case not only showed the stresses that famous couples have to deal with, but it also showed how fame can make a tough situation even worse and more mentally draining. The 2019 split of Jeff Bezos and Mackenzie Scott is another example of how being very successful can put a strain on even long-term relationships. They had been married for 25 years. Jeff has had Mackenzie by his side since the beginning of Amazon in the 1990s. Jeff became the richest person in the world and Amazon became one of the biggest companies in the world. Running such a huge business put a lot of stress on their marriage. Jeff had to spend a lot of time and energy running a global company like Amazon, which left him with little time for his family. Even though they tried to stay in touch and had a past together, Jeff's work made it harder for them to keep a strong personal relationship. Both Jeff and Mackenzie stressed how much they respected each other when they announced they were getting a divorce. They also tried to keep the split pretty friendly. Many people were still shocked by the breakup, which shows how hard it can be to balance work and personal life when you're so successful. Their marriage is under a lot of stress because they are in charge of billions of dollars, deal with public attention, and run a business that affects millions of people around the world. Even though they had a peaceful divorce, it shows that the stress of a public life can finally break a couple apart, even if both people try to avoid fighting. That's not all, though. The breakup of Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin in 2014, which they called a conscious uncoupling, got a lot of attention. Unlike many famous breakups, they wanted a calm and friendly breakup so that they could both be good parents to their two kids. Behind this calm front, though, their separation was caused by problems they were having at work because of how stressful their jobs were. Chris, the lead singer of the famous band Coldplay, and Gwyneth, a successful actress and wellness business owner, both had busy lives that often took them in different ways. The attention they got from being famous meant that they were often apart, which made it hard for them to stay close as a couple. After some time, Paltrow talked about how her fame and the stress of always being in the public eye made their marriage tough. Not only did their work schedules clash, but their jobs also took them to different places, which made it hard to balance their personal and professional responsibilities. Their situation showed that even when two people want to stay together, it can be hard to do so when their jobs take them in different ways. Their conscious uncoupling was an interesting way to talk about the end of their relationship, but it did show how fame and hard jobs can really hurt a marriage. Things like the breakup between Megyn Kelly and Douglas Brunt show that even though celebrity relationships may look great on the outside, the stresses of public life and busy jobs can really hurt personal relationships. Many famous couples find it hard to balance work and love, which often forces them to make hard choices about the future of their relationships. Is Megyn Kelly's choice to leave her husband the right one? Tell us in the comments. Please let me know if you like this video by clicking like, add our station to your favorites, and share it with your friends and family. That way you won't miss our next videos. If you want to see more fun videos, click the next one on your screen.